one moment in time, you have people coming together who get along, who are really creative, and something really amazing comes out of that collaboration.
Loretta Ford's key revolutionary moment in Colorado was key. And it was key. I mean, it was our touchstone.
It was Henry Kemp who introduced me to Henry Silver. What we had was a combination of skills. He was mighty skilled in child health care and, of course, my skills in community and public health nursing. So when these came together, we were able to think about a model where we could have nurses running child health conferences and doing some extensive physical exams on babies and children.
Lee Ford approached me with the idea of this new program that was supposed to be based in public health. And it would increase the skills of public health nurses to make better assessment of children when they were doing home visits in little clinics, et cetera, et cetera. I thought that sounded like a good thing to do.
And we placed her down in Trinidad, an outlying place.
So I stayed in Trinidad for the 8 months. The 4 months of the teaching part, and then the 8 months of the clinical. Then returned to Denver and began working as a sort of co-teacher, facilitator with Dr. Silver, bringing in other nurses into the program.
Pretty soon, it was very obvious that this model was really a hotshot model that was going to work.
Dr. Silver and I figured out a curriculum and the stuff we needed to cover as we went along. We made it a 4-month program.
All the pediatric nurse practitioners that we had came out of public health nursing. They had to have a public health nursing experience, they had to have a baccalaureate degree academically.
Silver and Ford published in pediatrics, and pediatrics was one specialty area that really was short on physician manpower. So when this article comes out, it resonates with pediatricians, and that's one of the reasons that this pediatric NP really takes off.
The area was pediatric nurse practitioner, so it was an expansion in pediatrics, and all of the specialty areas in pediatrics were identified by Sue and Lee and Henry Silver. And then the heads of the departments were all notified that we would be there. And then at certain times we would arrive and have, some education in pediatric neurology or pediatric dermatology or, one of those topics.
We were told, well, you have to learn about the respiratory system. So you go find the head of the department and set up a time and you will meet with them. We would talk about children, and we would talk about symptoms, and we talk about what do you do, and what's dangerous, what isn't, all that stuff. It's fun. Henry Silver was a very practical teacher. He was very much into taking a case and saying, what's the most likely thing that this would be? He was not there to teach us all the horrible, terrible diseases that are out there. He really looked at a very practical level of what we could deal with.
Henry would say, lesson 1, before you go in that room, you want to treat that child as if they were your own. If you do that every time you go in there, you will be the world's best providers.
I open up the Time magazine and I see this article about this woman who was at the University of Colorado, and that woman's name was Sue Sterling. And it was just amazing to me what she was learning how to do, because it was exactly what I thought I wanted to do.
There were nurses all across this country who were practicing like nurse practitioners already. And the other big thing we did with this nurse practitioner program was to legitimize what they were already doing. And I think that was important for a lot of nurses.
We had many, many visitors to our little health station. We had a lot of people observing our practice. People from all over the country would be coming into Denver to see what Silver and Ford were up to. We were in a fishbowl.
The nurse practitioner collects data, shares them with the mother, and uses the data to teach growth and development and care of the child in his family setting. A systematic physical examination by the nurse practitioner is an essential part of the visit.
So we were focused on mothers and children and families in the community. Lee and Henry fielded all of the national problems, and I've learned later from Lee, it was tough for her, but we didn't know that at the time how tough it was.
The nurses were not very helpful, nursing faculty. They were not enthusiastic about this. As a matter of fact, they were very critical.
And they were as difficult as they could get away with.
Lee Ford was trying very hard to get the program into the graduate school, and the faculty just blocked her. Elda Popheel ran continuing education. She invited Lee to put the program in continuing education. So that's how that happened.
It was really hard for nurses, especially those who saw themselves as expert clinicians at the bedside. We almost devalued those nurses by the way we touted the virtues of the nurse practitioner. So many of those nurses felt left behind, I think.
I have to admit that I think we were somewhat arrogant. We wore little white coats, and we carried our stethoscopes in our pockets, and we walked around with our otoscopes.
What changed them tremendously was they had intellectual oats that they didn't know they had. They felt such confidence in themselves, and they had such a lot of fun. They really enjoyed practice.
This is something that I never thought I would be doing. It was a life-changing event.
Where's that light?
And I still have that awe.
Where'd it go? Look at the light.
I remember reading in the early nurse practitioner journals about would we survive? Nobody says that anymore.
We are smart, creative disruptors that do not accept status quo.
What is particularly nice, though, to be 50 years out and for everybody to think they invented nurse practitioner education.
I'm sure I could be a physician. I'm sure I could be a physician's assistant. I could be a chicken rancher. I'm a nurse practitioner and I love what I do. Because Loretta Ford didn't know what a box was. You know what I mean?